What is up, my friends, and welcome to another edition of the XFL Week in Review. I'm your host, Mark Perry, editor of XFL News Hub. And on this week's show, Luck versus McMahon, they're going at it. Fan Control Football Week 3, plus XFL Players to the CFL. We'll get into that, plus fantasy wrestling update. We'll give you that, kind of give you where things are with our fantasy app, and so much more. So how do you get in touch with the show? You email podcast at XFL News Hub with your MP3 or videos, or call 888-430-7692 extension 3. You know the drill. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We'll read it on the show. We appreciate that. And like and subscribe. Click that notification bell. Anytime we have new videos or breaking news out, you will be the first to know. And by you guys liking all this stuff, that helps get the word out about the XFL, and we appreciate that. Now, today is special because XFL Markcast, Reed, I am wearing the XFL hat, the Christmas hat that he so loves, and that is tongue-in-cheek because he hates it. I was listening to the XFL Markcast, and I love their show. I think it's the best XFL show out there by far, even though I like mine, but I think theirs is fantastic. And they were talking about the hat again, and so I was like, all right, I am the other person with a hat. So for Reed, I am wearing the hat. I hope he continues to watch. He might not be able to watch the show because I'm wearing the hat, and it might disgust him so much. Hopefully he will continue, but definitely you guys go check out. You got our podcast, then you got the XFL Markcast, and I think we got you covered at all different kinds of styles of XFL news. We got you there. So I'm wearing this for Reed. This is for Reed to wear the XFL hat, which, you know, the front is cool, the back is cheap. Yeah, I get what you're saying. But so that's that news. Now some quick news bits coming on this week. We don't really have a lot to talk about. First, let's talk about the Fan Control Football. Apparently, we had some good games this past weekend. I wouldn't pay attention. But, however, the big news for Fan Control Football is that Josh Gordon will join Cleveland Browns teammate and franchise QB Johnny Manziel on the Zappers as early as week 4. So Manziel will be reunited with Josh Gordon. They signed Josh Gordon, which is kind of interesting and cool. That might get some eyeballs out there. But I did not watch the Fan Control Football. This past week, you got the Zappers versus the Wild Aces. Zappers won 34-30. Congratulations to them. Wild Aces wide receiver Rashad Floyd threw scissors to defeat Zappers, blah, blah, blah. I'm just reading through some of the stuff. I wish they would just have box scores. Then you had the Glacier Boys versus the Beasts, my team, Miro's team. Beasts beat the Glacier Boys 28-22. Quentin Flowers had a pair of touchdowns to lead the way offensively for the Glacier Boys. And next week is the final week of the regular season, March 6th. You got a game at 8, the Glacier Boys 1-2 versus the Wild Aces, who are 1-2. Then you have a 9:30 game, the Beasts at 3-0 versus Zappers, also at 1-2. And that is your wrap-up of the Fan Control Football this week. So after we get past the Fan Control Football League, we do have more football on the horizon up north. The regular season of the CFL is scheduled to begin on June 10th, 2021 and end October 30th, 2021, with 18 games being played per team over 21 weeks. We have a list of the 2020 XFL players who had signed with the CFL. So training camps will begin in early May. So we still have March. Fan Control will end. We have April as a lull. Then we have May. We'll kick in with some CFL stuff. But there are names in there. We have the full list. There's about 50 or so names on there. But you can find some interesting ones like Sean Oakman from the Wildcats. He is on there. Quarterbacks, we got Taylor Cornelius and Philip Nelson. Also remember Philip Nelson from the Dallas Renegades. He's on there. Some running backs, we got James Butler. We remember him. The Roughnecks at wide receiver. We got guys like Mikhail McKay, Dan Williams, Armonte Edwards. He returns to the CFL. Dante's Bird is another one. Eli Rogers. Nelson Spruce We liked Nelson Spruce when he was with the Wildcats. He's with the Alouettes. So we have a bunch of XFL guys that actually we can kind of follow. At defensive end, we got some names. What else we got? Obam Gwacham. I remember him. He came over. That was big. Ricky Walker, Hokie. Dietrich Nichols, cornerback. He was good in the XFL. So there is definitely Sammy Coates, wide receiver. We all thought he was going to do really well. DeMarcus Gates, linebacker, one of my favorite guys of defensive players. So we have the full list. We'll keep that up to date, and you can check out all the CFL players. And as we get closer to the CFL season, we will give you the latest update on those players, and those are guys that we will follow throughout the season, just like we did in the NFL. So almost the only really news this week, as I'm wearing my glasses, is stuff about Vince McMahon and Oliver Luck. Yes, that's all we have going on this week. So apparently, as the drama continues and the build of the Vince McMahon, Oliver Luck lawsuit, we all know the whole drill about that. One of the things that came out this week in a newly filed counterclaim, McMahon alleged that Oliver Luck disclosed confidential XFL information with agent William Wilson. Quote, Luck repeatedly disclosed the confidential information to the XFL to William Wilson, his brother-in-law, and an employee of the Wasserman Media Group, a sports agency that represents professional athletes, close quote. The claim also states that Luck did not have McMahon's consent, written or otherwise, to share privilege or confidential information. I guess maybe they got this off of Oliver Luck's phone or something, who the heck knows. But now this is another issue that they have going up. One thing that was interesting when I saw Wasserman Media Group is that recently Redbird Capital Partners bought a minority stake in the sports marketing and talent agency known as Wasserman Media Group. And of course, they're not related in this lawsuit at all. And then we saw Redbird Capital getting involved with some team that owns part of the Red Sox or something. So they're all over the news, Redbird Capital, but no XFL news. I am sure that they're working on stuff behind the scenes. All right, my friends, that's pretty much it for the XFL news this week. We're going to take a little commercial break. We'll talk fantasy XFL and fantasy wrestling. They're commingled, and you know about that. Plus, we'll get to your social media stuff right after this. Stay tuned, my friends.
Here's what you missed on the XFL Markcast.
A couple notes real quick. Audio or video listeners will notice I'm wearing my XFL Black Friday hat. This is really the first time I've ever worn this. It's probably the ugliest, most uncomfortable hat I've ever worn. And I'm doing it to prove a point that since Danny and The Rock have bought the league, because I talk crap about fan control, I'll talk crap about XFL. This is the only thing that we have gotten from the XFL since August when Danny and The Rock bought it.
Yeah, we got the giveaway going on. If you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you'll be entered into a chance to win either the misprinted hat, which people are preferring over an Ocho Cinco signed football. I don't understand that, but hey, different strokes for different folks.
Do we have the football handy? Is it handy to grab?
It's locked up.
That's okay. Well, that's, it's valuable.
You know the scenario around my place.
Yes. Listeners of the show last week know that Paul, I would not be leaving any prized possessions of Ocho Cinco out. But seriously, if you go to xflshow.com/YouTube, XFL Mark on YouTube, we added like 25 subscribers this week. So, clearly the giveaway, Paul, I really do honestly appreciate that. No BS doing that. And it seems to be working. The big XFL news, non-news this week, XFL tweeted at Nick Fitzgerald on Twitter, and the world went crazy because they said XFL goes, we'll send you a DM. And people, oh my God. He was asking about his W-2. It's tax season. So he was a former XFL player, and he was just trying to get his W-2. So people that were freaking out about the XFL social media account, it's good that they're active. It's certainly good that they're like checking their mentions, but yes, that was what it was. What do you think about that, Paul?
Thought was?
He just needs his W-2. I mean, it's tax season, man.
Tax season. Yeah, you're right.
If we're going to get hypothetical here in the XFL offseason, I'm going to hypothesize this is kind of where my mind goes, PJ in Carolina, Washington football, just to kind of give you a mindset. Okay, what's Reed thinking here, putting all this stuff on? Just, I like keeping an eye on, at least some potential teams where we could see some play.
Of course, you could find XFL Markcast on XFL News Hub and wherever you get podcasts, including YouTube.
What's up, XFL Army? If you're a fan of the XFL News Hub and you have a telephone, which I know all of you do because you're sitting there playing on your phones all the time, then why not download the XFL News Hub app? That's right, it's on iTunes. It's on Android. We have an Android version and an iPhone version of the XFL News Hub app. So what do you get? You get the latest news from XFL News Hub, the premier source of XFL news in the universe. Plus, you get push notifications when we have breaking news. You will be the first to know. You can leave a comment on some of the news right from your phone. Plus, you get this podcast on your phone as well. Remember, you can leave us reviews on the Google Play Store or iTunes. It links to other social media, our other social media accounts, and so much more. Be in the know. I know you're on your phones. People are on their phones all the time. They never get off their phones. So why not just download the XFL News Hub app on your Android or iPhone today? All you need to do is go to the Google Play Store or iTunes and just type in XFL News Hub. That's XFL News Hub. Download our app on your phone today. All right, we are back. And before we get to the social media stuff, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about how fantasy wrestling is going. Now, we all know that fantasy wrestling will coincide with XFL fantasy football, and the wrestling side of things is kind of what I'm working on currently. We had wrestling drafts go on, which was great. The problem is that you would have 3 different people that were on the draft. The drafting is the hardest coding part, honestly, of the whole process. Other ones is just data entry, data, showing data, different kinds of ways. It's this drafting piece that has worried me to figure out from the beginning. I thought I had it solved, and I didn't. Because when people were drafting, the timer actually would start on the wrong time. Or if there was 3 people, the timer was basically, gives you 2 minutes, and then it was going down by 3 seconds. Now, I didn't see that because I was the only person that was doing drafts. And that's kind of what caused the problem. So I came up with a different solution that's actually pretty cool. And I'm about halfway to trying to implement it and do some testing on it. And what it is using Signal RL, which is a Microsoft.NET thing. And it's actually coding for video games. And what it does is no matter what you're doing, who is on the page at the time, the clock is counting down. So I needed somehow to make sure that the clock was 100%, no matter who was connecting and at what time. The clock stayed the same and counted down 2 minutes and then goes on to the next. And the clock does do that, which is cool. So now I need to figure out how to kind of wire that all together. And that's where we're at with the fantasy wrestling. So the idea was originally we were going to have, there was a pay-per-view, and then we were going to reset and redraft. But I'm not going to do that this go around because I need to make sure the draft is solid before I have people redrafting. And people are enjoying themselves just kind of playing and liking their rosters and that kind of stuff. So I have some pretty cool things in there, and there's some good ideas about maybe having like a 6-person league and what that would look like, and maybe changing some things around. But that's kind of where we are with the fantasy piece, and this is why it was so important if we have an XFL season in 2022 is to do this development now. Because could you imagine if we were having the XFL kickoff in a couple weeks and this was not solved, then you have thousands and thousands of people drafting at one time, it would be a mess. So giving us this time, this runway to kind of get all this thing under control and figured out is kind of what we're doing with when it comes to the fantasy stuff. So I'll keep you posted on that. That's where we are there. On to your social media stuff, of course. We got to get to our friends on the social media. Talking about Timothy Tebow Jason says, bring him to St. Louis. Oh, he would be in Florida, my friend. Florida all the way. But okay. Christopher says his first home run was for the AA Mets Birmingham Rumble Ponies. I know I was there for that game. It wasn't an all-state game. I would love to see him play in the XFL. That would be awesome. I mean, I'm all for Tebow playing in the XFL. I don't know. Everybody's all bent out of shape about it. If he's got game, go for it. Dennis says, I hope Tebow gives football another try. I'll definitely watch for it. Go Gators. I have a good friend of mine who is a Gator through and through person. So he is all about the Gators as well. Let's check out our friends on the YouTubes. Paul says, Tebow to the Vipers would be box office gold. 100% agree with that. Paladin Demo, we have him checking in a little bit. Wasn't everybody complaining about washed out players last week? Yeah, they do. I mean, Tebow would be a draw. I just don't see it. But Rock and Danny Garcia are a different ball game. Redbird Capital is a different ball game than dealing with Vince McMahon. So who knows? Jared says Tim Tebow, when he was a Bronco QB, one game he literally passed it twice in one game, ran the ball 50 times. It was sad. Also having 0 points for 3 quarters and having to try to come back really isn't good for the team. He needs to work on accuracy. I don't think he ever tried to improve on that. I'm sure he did. Reaper One says actually he did improve. When he went to Archie Manning football camp to work on his accuracy and gotten a chance to play with the Eagles during the preseason after they cut him. Darion Dixon says, have he hate me t-shirts and hats would be cool market for the economy. Totally would love that. Tyrone says, I hope we get some XFL advertisement commercial for Rod Smart. Yeah, I agree. Paladin Demo says, no Finn. What? I disagree. Battlehawks would be the champs. I'll meet you halfway for a Battlehawks vs. Guardians playoff game. All right, there. Paladin Demo. Keith B, Tebow in the XFL, please no. Somebody says, why not? And somebody else says, wrong. Jack Stevens, of course, checking in, the man, our tier 1 emailer. Businessman. Washington Marks Perry's laugh, LMAO, bro, what? Hey, just name your team after me. I don't mind. As long as I get a cut of the action. Or Washington XFL News Hub.com would be a fantastic name and not controversial. That would be good. Adler Tude says Tebow would be an analyst for the XFL. That would be interesting. Mike Shork says, I think the XFL 2.5 should acquire a few AAF teams. And if MLFB takes off, perhaps an MLFB XFL merger in the future. I don't know. I don't think you're going to get any kind of MLFB, to be honest with you. I haven't heard anything other than that one announcement. Washington Red Nails new stadium Arrowhead, whatever his name is. I should ask Frank, should he consider a merger with the XFL post-pandemic? Maybe he needs to contact The Rock to discuss it. Both leagues have brilliant plans to defeat the spring football jinx. I don't know. We haven't gotten any. I mean, we got the Fan Control Football League. They're not shutting their doors anytime soon. We haven't heard anything about COVID either with Fan Control Football, which has been good. I mean, that thing, because I don't want to say it because it might mess up on the YouTubes. Eric says, I didn't know you can patent a Derek. Is there Oiler merchandise? That I think there is. Lack of creativity, perhaps. Talking about the getting in trouble with the logos. And finally, the SSU Ultimate person. There's no way the Wildcats are going to San Antonio, talking about relocation, if the 2 other Texas teams are staying. I agree, 100%. That would be 3 Texas teams in the XFL and way too many since there's only 8 teams overall. I agree. Personally, I think one for Dallas or Houston teams should move to San Antonio if you want one in San Antonio. Dallas or Houston already have a big NFL market, so I don't really see the purpose in being there to begin with. Only one of them should stay. The other one should move to San Antonio. As for the Wildcats, they should move to San Diego or Oakland since they don't have an NFL market. A lot of XFL teams should be non-NFL NFL markets, or at least most of them. And so far, only the Battlehawks are not an NFL market. That used to be an NFL market, and that was pretty stupid. So there you have it. Taken on, that was the YouTubes. On the Twitters, I was having some fun. I put out the scores for last week's, which was a year ago, the 2020 XFL results for week 3. You had the St. Louis 29, New York Guardians 9. You had the LA Wildcats 39, DC Defenders 9. Yeah, that was just a bad game. Tuju Master says that one loss for the Defenders, but don't worry, we're going to crush the Vipers next week. You think? Do you think? Is that possible? Then you got, we had the Saturday. Oh, that was Sunday's games. Saturday games, we had Houston 34, Tampa Bay 27, and Dallas 24, Seattle 12. He says, Tuju Master says, the DC Defenders take on the LA Wildcats. We all know that DC is going to wipe the floor with those Wildcats. Well, the opposite happened, clearly. I think he was just saying that in jest. And that's it. And then now you have Paladin Demo checking in. Nearly complete with the LA Chargers theme for his Blood Bowl stuff. Base texture is done. Decals are on. Waiting for Phil Rivers' election results, and missed a couple of details. So some pretty cool stuff he's got going on there. And that's it, my friends. That's it for this week's show. Nothing really going on this week. Nothing too exciting. I don't know what to tell you. March, you got March Madness. Are we going to see anything? Maybe we'll see something in April. Maybe they're holding out because of March Madness, taking the sporting news, and then you have April and March Madness is over. And now you can get a hold on some of the news cycle because it's just baseball, but the NBA is still playing and NHL. So who knows? Who knows what's to come, but we'll keep you posted. If we hear anything, we will let you know. Remember, if you want to be part of the show, email podcast at XFL News Hub with your MP3s or videos, 888-430-7692, extension 3. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We'll read it on the show. And, of course, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Well, you can download our app. Listen to us on Apple's Podcasts, Spotify, the whole deal. Show notes, xflnewshub.com/XFL-podcast. Join us on the Discord when we get into that fantasy stuff. That will be a good place for you guys to be involved in. I'm hoping to have something maybe by the fall out there that people can start signing up for, and maybe doing some mock drafts and that kind of thing if we get something going here soon. So that's it for me, folks. A very light, super light week. If it wasn't for fan control football, who knows? And the luck McMahon, that's all we would have. And then we'll just keep an eye on some of these CFL players, XFL players going to play in the CFL. And we'll cover that during the summer, which will be fun because I would love to see the difference between XFL players playing in the NFL versus XFL players in the CFL, as I really think we would see a lot of these former XFL players in the CFL and get to watch them in games, which I think would be a lot of fun. I would love to watch Nelson Spruce. If Taylor Cornelius is starting, I'm watching that game. Even Philip Nelson and, some of the other wide receivers, defensive players. So it would make it a little bit more interesting and fun during the summer if we get these guys on TV starting on for some CFL franchise. It'll be a lot of fun. All right, my friends, that's it for this week. Thanks for listening. Mahalo. God bless. Finn says hello to his millions of fans out there. We all know Finn. We will see Finn once they announce coaches, and who knows when that will be. So, but he does have fans. If you want to start a Finn fan club, go right ahead. Get Finn merchandise, etc. He just needs a cut, and I need a cut too. All right, that's it for me, folks. Thanks for listening. Mahalo. God bless. Stay safe out there, my friends, and I will see you all later.